Marcus Williams was 12 years old. He sat alone at a table in the school cafeteria. The lunchroom was noisy and full of students. They talked and laughed with their friends. But Marcus was by himself. His fingers moved on the table like he was playing a piano. He made small tapping sounds with his fingertips. Some students looked at him and whispered to each other. A few of them pointed at Marcus and laughed. Marcus had Down syndrome. Most of the kids at Jefferson Middle School did not understand him. Some ignored him completely. Others made fun of him. They thought he was different in a bad way. Marcus heard the whispers and saw the pointing. He was used to it by now. It happened every day. In the hallways, in the classroom, and especially in the cafeteria. The other students did not know the real Marcus. They only saw what was on the outside. They did not know about his special gift. Every day after school ended, Marcus would hurry home. He would drop his backpack by the front door and run to the living room. There against the wall stood an old piano. The piano was not fancy or expensive. Some of the keys were a bit yellow from age. But to Marcus, it was the most beautiful thing in the world. Marcus would sit on the piano bench and start to play. His fingers would dance across the keys. Beautiful music would fill the house. When Marcus played piano, he forgot about everything else. He forgot about the mean kids at school. He forgot about feeling different. When he played music, Marcus felt happy and free. His mother, Linda, loved to listen to Marcus play. She would stop whatever she was doing just to hear the music. Linda remembered when Marcus was only 4 years old. She had noticed something special about him. He would hum songs after hearing them just one time. He could remember every note perfectly. Linda told the doctors and teachers about Marcus's love for music. She wanted to get him piano lessons, but many people told her it was not a good idea. They said it would be too hard for Marcus. They said children with Down syndrome could not learn difficult things like playing piano. They told Linda not to get her hopes up. But Linda did not listen to them. She believed in her son. She knew Marcus was special. She searched until she found the right teacher. Her name was Mrs. Chen. Mrs. Chen was an old woman who had been a concert pianist many years ago. She had played in big concert halls all over the world. When Mrs. Chen first met Marcus, she looked into his eyes. She saw something that other people missed. She saw determination. She saw passion. She saw a real love for music. Mrs. Chen agreed to teach Marcus right away. That was 8 years ago. Since then, Marcus had been taking lessons with Mrs. Chen every week. He practiced every single day. While other kids his age played video games or watched television, Marcus sat at his piano. He learned to play pieces by famous composers. He played music by Chopin, Beethoven, and Mozart. Learning piano was not always easy for Marcus. Some things took him longer to learn than other students. He had to practice the same parts over and over again. His fingers did not always do what he wanted them to do at first. Reading music was hard, but Marcus never gave up. He kept trying and trying. Music was special to Marcus. It was the one place where he felt like everyone else. When he played piano, it did not matter that he had Down syndrome. It did not matter that some kids made fun of him. When he played music, Marcus could express feelings that he could not always say with words. The piano understood him. The music understood him. Marcus's father, Robert, would sit in his chair after work and listen to Marcus practice. Sometimes Robert felt worried. He saw how other people treated his son. He saw the stares and heard the whispers. Robert wanted to protect Marcus from getting hurt. He wondered if Marcus would ever get the chance to show people what he could really do. But Linda always told Robert to have faith. She had watched Marcus overcome so many challenges in his life. Things that doctors said he might never do, Marcus did anyway. He learned to walk, to talk, to read, to write. Everything took more time and more work, but Marcus always found a way. Linda believed the same was true for music. At school, Marcus had one friend. Her name was Sophie. Sophie was quiet and shy. She liked to draw during lunchtime. She sat at the table next to Marcus sometimes. Sophie never made fun of Marcus. She would smile at him and say hello. Sometimes they would eat lunch together without talking much. Marcus liked Sophie. She was kind. One day, Sophie asked Marcus what he did after school. Marcus's face lit up with a big smile. He told her about playing piano. Sophie was surprised. She did not know Marcus could play music. Marcus told her about all the songs he had learned. He told her about Mrs. Chen and how she taught him every week. Sophie thought it was wonderful. She told Marcus she would love to hear him play someday. Marcus felt happy. Finally, someone at school wanted to know about the thing he loved most. Sophie was different from the other students. She saw Marcus as a real person, not just someone to ignore or make fun of. The other kids at school had no idea about Marcus's talent. To them, he was just the quiet boy with Down syndrome who sat alone at lunch. They made jokes about him in the hallways. They laughed when he took longer to answer questions in class. They never invited him to birthday parties or to hang out after school. Marcus felt lonely most of the time at school. He wished the other students would give him a chance. He wished they would see that he was not so different from them. He had feelings just like they did. He had dreams and hopes. He was good at things just like they were. But nobody seemed to care. At night, before going to sleep, Marcus would think about his day. He would remember the mean comments and the laughter. But then he would think about playing piano. He would imagine the music in his head. The sound of the piano made him feel better. It reminded him that he was good at something important. Mrs. Chen always told Marcus that he had a gift. She said that many people could learn to play the notes correctly, but Marcus played with real emotion. He played from his heart. Mrs. Chen said that was what made a truly great musician. It was not just about playing the right notes. It was about making people feel something when they heard the music. Marcus did not fully understand what Mrs. Chen meant at first. But as he got older, he started to realize it. When he played piano, he put all of his feelings into the music. All the sadness from being left out at school, all the happiness he felt when playing, all the love he had for his family. Everything went into the music. The piano was Marcus's voice. It said all the things that were hard for him to say with words. It told his story. It showed who he really was inside. Marcus dreamed that one day other people would hear his music. Maybe then they would understand. Maybe then they would see him differently. But for now, Marcus played alone in his living room. Only his family and Mrs. Chen knew about his gift. The students at school had no idea that the boy they mocked every day could create such beautiful music. They did not know that Marcus's fingers could fly across piano keys and bring famous compositions to life. Marcus finished his lunch in the cafeteria. He threw away his trash and walked to his next class. Students bumped past him in the crowded hallway. Nobody said hello or smiled at him. Marcus kept his head down and walked quietly. He counted the hours until school would be over. Then he could go home. Then he could play his piano again. That was where Marcus felt safe. That was where he felt like himself. At the piano, Marcus was not the boy everyone mocked. He was a musician. He was an artist. He was someone special. And deep down, Marcus hoped that someday everyone else would see it too. The morning started like any other day at Jefferson Middle School. Students rushed through the hallways to their lockers. Teachers prepared their classrooms for the first period. Then Principal Harrison's voice came over the loudspeaker. Everyone stopped and listened to the announcement. Principal Harrison cleared his throat and began to speak. He reminded students about upcoming events. He talked about the basketball game on Friday. Then he said something that made Marcus sit up straight in his seat. The school would be having its annual talent show in 1 month. Any student who wanted to participate could sign up in the main office. Marcus felt his heart start to beat faster. A talent show. He had heard about it from previous years, but had never thought about joining. The other students always talked excitedly about the talent show. They would perform songs, dances, magic tricks, and comedy acts. Parents and teachers would come to watch. It was one of the biggest events of the school year. For the first time, Marcus wanted to be part of it. He wanted to show everyone what he could do. He wanted to sit at a piano in front of the whole school and play. Maybe then they would see him differently. Maybe then they would understand that he was more than what they thought. The idea stayed in Marcus's mind all day. Through math class, through English, through science, all he could think about was the talent show. He imagined himself on stage. He imagined playing a beautiful piece of music. He imagined people listening and realizing they had been wrong about him, but Marcus also felt scared. What if he made a mistake? What if people laughed at him? What if trying to perform only made things worse? These worries filled his head and made his stomach feel tight. That evening at dinner, Marcus ate his food quietly. His mother noticed he was not talking much. His sister Emma asked him if something was wrong at school. Marcus put down his fork and looked at his family. He took a deep breath and told them about the talent show. He told them he wanted to sign up and play piano. The table went quiet. Robert, Marcus's father, looked worried. He glanced at his wife, Linda. Robert loved his son very much. He had spent 12 years protecting Marcus from people who did not understand him. He had watched his son face rejection and mockery. The thought of Marcus on stage in front of the whole school made Robert feel afraid for him. Robert spoke carefully. He asked Marcus if he was really sure about this. He reminded Marcus that talent shows could be stressful. He did not want to discourage his son, but he also did not want to see him get hurt. Linda watched Marcus's face as Robert spoke. She saw something in her son's eyes that she had seen many times before. It was the same look Marcus had when he was 5 years old and insisted he would learn to ride a bike without training wheels. It was the same look he had when he said he wanted to learn to read chapter books like other kids. It was determination. It was courage. Linda reached across the table and took Marcus's hand. She squeezed it gently. Then she looked at her husband and said firmly that if Marcus wanted to do this, they would support him. They would be there for him no matter what happened. Marcus was brave for even wanting to try. Emma, Marcus's older sister, smiled at her brother. She told him she thought it was a great idea. She said she would be in the front row cheering for him. Emma had always been protective of Marcus. She had defended him from bullies since they were little. She was proud that her brother wanted to show everyone his talent. Marcus felt relief wash over him. His family believed in him. That gave him confidence. He smiled and told them he would practice extra hard. He would make them proud. The next morning, Marcus went to school with a new sense of purpose. He walked to the main office during lunchtime. There was a clipboard on the counter with a sign-up sheet for the talent show. Several names were already written on it. Marcus picked up the pen with a slightly shaking hand. He wrote his name carefully on the list. Next to it, he wrote what he would perform: piano solo. Just as Marcus put down the pen, he heard laughter behind him. He turned around and saw Tyler Bennett standing there with 3 of his friends. Tyler was one of the most popular boys in school. He was tall, athletic, and always surrounded by other students who wanted to be like him. Tyler was also one of the people who made fun of Marcus the most. Tyler looked at the sign-up sheet and saw Marcus's name. His eyes went wide with fake surprise. He started laughing loudly. His friends joined in. Tyler asked Marcus what he was going to do for the talent show. Was he going to count to 10? Maybe sing the alphabet? The group burst into more laughter. Marcus felt his face get hot. He wanted to say something back, but the words got stuck in his throat. His hands started to shake a little. Tyler kept making jokes. He told his friends that Marcus's performance was going to be the funniest part of the whole show. They should all bring their cameras to record it. Other students in the hallway heard the commotion and gathered around. They looked at the sign-up sheet and saw Marcus's name. Some giggled. Others looked uncomfortable but said nothing. A few teachers walked by but did not hear what Tyler was saying. Nobody stood up for Marcus. Marcus felt tears starting to form in his eyes, but he did not let them fall. He would not give Tyler the satisfaction of seeing him cry. Instead, Marcus just smiled a small smile. He looked Tyler right in the eyes and said nothing. Then he turned and walked away down the hall. Tyler and his friends laughed even harder as Marcus left. They started planning to sit in the front row of the talent show. They wanted to get the best view of what they expected would be an embarrassing disaster. Tyler took out his phone and started texting other students. Within minutes, the news spread through the school. Marcus Williams had signed up for the talent show. Everyone was talking about it. In his next class, Marcus could hear students whispering. They were talking about him. Some wondered what he would actually do. Others made bets that he would not even show up. A few said it was mean to make fun of him, but they said it quietly and did not defend Marcus out loud. Sophie found Marcus after school by his locker. She asked him if what she heard was true. Was he really going to be in the talent show? Marcus nodded, yes. Sophie smiled at him. She said she thought it was really brave. She asked what he would be playing on the piano. Marcus told her he was not sure yet, but he would choose something special. Sophie told Marcus not to listen to Tyler and the other mean kids. She said they were just bullies who did not know any better. Marcus appreciated Sophie's kindness. It made him feel a little bit better about everything. That afternoon, Marcus went to his lesson with Mrs. Chen. He told her about signing up for the talent show. He also told her about Tyler's reaction and how students were already making fun of him. Mrs. Chen listened carefully. Her face was serious but kind. Mrs. Chen asked Marcus why he wanted to do the talent show. Was it to prove something to the other students, or was it for himself? Marcus thought about the question. He admitted that yes, he wanted to show everyone he was good at something. He wanted them to see him as more than just a boy with Down syndrome. He wanted respect. Mrs. Chen nodded slowly. She understood. She told Marcus that wanting to share his gift was not wrong. But she warned him that changing other people's minds was hard. Some people would never see past their own prejudices. What mattered most was that Marcus played for the right reasons. He should play because he loved music. He should play because it made him happy. Then Mrs. Chen suggested they choose his piece carefully. For a talent show at a middle school, he needed something that would capture people's attention, something powerful, something that would show his skill but also his emotion. She pulled out a book of sheet music and opened it to a specific page. It was Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata, Third Movement. Mrs. Chen explained that this piece was famous and very difficult. Even professional pianists found it challenging. It was fast, intense, and required great technical skill. But if Marcus could play it well, nobody would be able to deny his talent. Marcus looked at the music. The notes were tiny and numerous. They filled the pages. There were fast runs and difficult passages. It looked scary, but Marcus felt excited too. This was exactly the kind of piece that would make people listen. This would show them what he could really do. Mrs. Chen warned Marcus that learning this piece in 1 month would be hard. He would need to practice every single day, sometimes for hours. There would be frustrating moments. There would be times when he wanted to give up. Was he ready for that challenge? Marcus looked at his teacher and nodded with determination. He was ready. He would work as hard as he needed to. He would practice until his fingers hurt. He would memorize every single note. This was his chance, and he was not going to waste it. Mrs. Chen smiled. She believed in Marcus. She had taught him for 8 years and watched him grow. She knew he had the dedication to do this. They would work together to make sure he was ready. As Marcus walked home that day, he felt nervous but also excited. In 1 month, he would stand on a stage in front of his entire school. Everyone who had ever mocked him would be watching. Everyone who had ever doubted him would be there. And Marcus was going to show them all exactly what he was capable of. The journey had begun. The weeks passed quickly. Marcus practiced the Moonlight Sonata every single day after school. Some days he practiced for 2 hours. Other days he practiced for 3. His fingers moved across the keys again and again, repeating the difficult passages until he could play them smoothly. At school, things got worse before they got better. The word had spread about Marcus signing up for the talent show. It seemed like everyone knew about it. In the hallways, students would make comments as Marcus walked by. Some would pretend to play an invisible piano and make silly faces. Others would laugh and point. Tyler Bennett made it his mission to remind Marcus every day about the upcoming performance. He would see Marcus in the cafeteria and call out across the room, asking if Marcus was ready for his big show. Tyler's friends would laugh on cue. They created a group chat where they made jokes about Marcus's performance. Screenshots of the jokes got shared around the school. Some of the memes and messages were cruel. They said Marcus would forget how to play. They said he would probably fall off the piano bench. They said buying a ticket to the talent show would be worth it just to see Marcus embarrass himself. The mean comments spread like wildfire through social media and text messages. Marcus tried not to look at his phone. Emma had warned him that people were saying mean things online. She had seen some of the posts. She wanted to respond and defend her brother, but Marcus asked her not to. He said it would only make things worse. He said he would let his performance speak for itself. But even though Marcus tried to ignore it, the comments hurt. They made him doubt himself. When he sat at the piano to practice, sometimes his hands would shake. He would think about all those people watching him. He would imagine them laughing. The fear would make him hit wrong notes. Mrs. Chen noticed the change in Marcus during their weekly lessons. He was making mistakes he had not made before. His playing was not as confident. She could see the worry on his face. One Tuesday afternoon, after Marcus stumbled through the same section 3 times, Mrs. Chen asked him to stop playing. She sat down next to Marcus on the piano bench. She asked him what was wrong. At first, Marcus said nothing was wrong. He said he just needed to practice more. But Mrs. Chen looked at him with kind eyes and waited. Finally, Marcus's emotions spilled out. He told Mrs. Chen about all the teasing and the jokes. He told her about the group chats and the memes. He told her that even some teachers had expressed concern to Principal Harrison. They suggested Marcus should reconsider performing to avoid embarrassment. Everyone seemed to think he would fail. Marcus's voice cracked as he spoke. He said he was scared. What if he did mess up? What if he forgot the music in the middle of the performance? What if Tyler was right and everyone just laughed at him? Maybe signing up for the talent show had been a stupid idea. Mrs. Chen listened to everything Marcus said. When he finished, she was quiet for a moment. Then she asked Marcus a question. She asked him why this performance mattered so much to him. What was he really trying to accomplish? Marcus thought about the question. His answer came slowly as he searched for the right words. He said that people always looked at him and only saw his Down syndrome. They saw his disability before they saw him. They thought he could not do things. They thought he was less than them. Marcus wanted to show them they were wrong. He wanted to prove he was good at something. He wanted them to see the real him. Mrs. Chen nodded with understanding. She told Marcus that wanting to be seen and respected was natural. Everyone wanted those things. But then she said something important. She told Marcus that he could not control what other people thought. Some people would be impressed by his performance, but others might still make fun of him no matter how well he played. That was their problem, not his. What Marcus could control was why he played and how he played. Mrs. Chen reminded him that music was special to him long before the talent show existed. He did not start playing piano to prove anything to anyone. He played because he loved it. He played because it made him feel alive and happy. That was what mattered most. She told Marcus that the greatest musicians in history did not play to impress people. They played because they had something inside them that needed to come out. Music was how they expressed their souls. When Marcus played from that place, from his heart, that was when his music was truly beautiful. Mrs. Chen asked Marcus to close his eyes. She told him to forget about the talent show for a moment. Forget about the audience. Forget about Tyler and the mean comments. Just think about the music itself. Think about Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata and what it meant. Think about the emotions in it. The passion. The drama. The beauty. Marcus closed his eyes and listened. Mrs. Chen told him that when he performed, he should not play for Tyler or the other students. He should not even play for his parents or his teachers. He should play for himself. He should play for the music. Everything else was just noise. When Marcus opened his eyes, he felt a little bit calmer. Mrs. Chen was right. He had been so focused on proving himself to others that he had forgotten why he loved playing piano in the first place. Music was his escape. It was his joy. That was what he needed to remember. They continued the lesson with a new focus. Mrs. Chen told Marcus to play the piece and put all his feelings into it. All the frustration from being teased, all the loneliness from being excluded, all the love he had for music, all the hope he carried in his heart. Put it all into the keys. Marcus played the Moonlight Sonata again. This time it was different. His fingers moved with more confidence. The music flowed better. He was not thinking about each individual note anymore. He was feeling the whole piece as one complete story. When he finished, Mrs. Chen smiled proudly. That was the Marcus she knew. That was real music. At home, Marcus's family continued to support him. His mother, Linda, would sit and listen to him practice every evening. She never complained about hearing the same piece over and over. She would bring him snacks and water. She would tell him how proud she was of his dedication. Robert, Marcus's father, was still worried but tried not to show it. He had heard about the teasing at school. Other parents had mentioned it to him. Some had asked if Marcus was really going through with the performance. Robert told them yes. His son was not a quitter. But inside, Robert's heart ached. He wished he could protect Marcus from the cruelty of the world. One evening, Robert sat down next to Marcus while he practiced. After Marcus finished playing through the piece, Robert put his hand on his son's shoulder. He told Marcus that no matter what happened at the talent show, he would always be proud of him. Not because of how well he played piano, but because of who Marcus was as a person. Robert said that Marcus had more courage than most adults he knew. Facing fear and doing something anyway was the definition of bravery. Whether the performance went perfectly or not, Marcus was already a winner in his father's eyes. Those words meant everything to Marcus. Emma, Marcus's sister, tried to help in her own way. She had confronted some of the students who were making fun of Marcus. She told them they were being cruel and ignorant. Some of them felt ashamed when Emma called them out. Others just laughed and said she was too sensitive. Emma also started a counter-campaign on social media. She posted videos of Marcus playing piano at home. She wrote about his dedication and his talent. She asked people to give her brother a chance before judging him. Some students responded positively. They said they did not realize Marcus could actually play. They said they would watch the performance with an open mind. But Tyler and his core group of friends doubled down on their mockery. Tyler made a reaction video to Emma's posts where he pretended to play piano badly and made exaggerated faces. His friends thought it was hilarious. The video got shared widely. When Emma saw it, she cried. She showed it to Marcus and apologized. She said she had tried to help but maybe made things worse. Marcus hugged his sister. He told her not to worry. He appreciated what she tried to do. The people who mocked him were going to mock him anyway. At least now some people might actually be curious to hear him play for real. As the talent show got closer, Principal Harrison became concerned about the situation. He had heard about the teasing and seen some of the online posts. He called Marcus and his parents in for a meeting. Principal Harrison was a kind man who genuinely cared about his students. He told Marcus that he did not have to perform if he did not want to. Nobody would think less of him if he decided to withdraw from the talent show. The principal said he could not control what students said or thought, and he worried about Marcus facing a hostile audience. Linda spoke up firmly. She said her son had every right to participate in the talent show like any other student. Withdrawing would send the message that Marcus should hide his talents because others were cruel. That was not the lesson she wanted her son to learn. If the school could not provide a respectful environment for all performers, that was a bigger problem that needed to be addressed. Principal Harrison agreed with Linda. He promised to make an announcement before the talent show began. He would remind the audience to be respectful of all performers. Anyone who caused disruption would be asked to leave immediately. He wanted Marcus to know that the school officially supported him. Marcus thanked the principal. He said he was definitely still going to perform. He had worked too hard to quit now. He was not going to let mean people take away his chance to share something he loved. The meeting ended with everyone feeling a bit better. Principal Harrison shook Marcus's hand and told him he was looking forward to the performance. Whatever happened, the principal said, Marcus was teaching the school an important lesson about courage and determination. With 1 week left until the talent show, Marcus practiced harder than ever. His fingers knew the piece by heart now. He could play it while thinking about other things. The music had become part of him. Mrs. Chen said he was ready. Now it was just a matter of getting on that stage and doing what he had prepared for. Marcus lay in bed each night and imagined the performance. Sometimes the imagining made him excited. Other times it made him terrified. But one thing was certain. In 1 week, everything would change. For better or worse, Marcus was going to show Jefferson Middle School who he really was. The countdown had begun. The day of the talent show finally arrived. Marcus woke up early that morning, even though his alarm had not gone off yet. His stomach felt like it was full of butterflies. He lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, thinking about what the evening would bring. All week at school, the talent show was all anyone talked about. Posters hung in the hallways announcing the event. Students discussed which acts they were most excited to see. Tyler and his friends made sure everyone knew they would be sitting in the front row specifically to watch Marcus perform. The talent show was scheduled for 7 o'clock in the evening. It would take place in the school auditorium. The auditorium was a large space with rows and rows of seats. There was a proper stage with curtains and professional lighting. Marcus had walked past it many times but had never imagined himself performing there. During the school day, Marcus could barely focus on his classes. His teachers noticed he seemed distracted. In math class, he was called on to answer a question but had not been paying attention. A few students giggled. Tyler made a comment under his breath about Marcus saving his energy for his big performance tonight. More students laughed. At lunch, Marcus sat with Sophie. She tried to help him feel less nervous. She told him she was excited to finally hear him play. Her parents were coming to the talent show, too. Sophie said her mom had heard about Marcus from her and was very interested in his performance. That made Marcus smile a little. Sophie asked Marcus if he was scared. Marcus nodded honestly. He said he was very scared. His hands had been shaking all morning. Sophie told him that being nervous was normal. Even professional performers got nervous. She said the nervousness meant he cared about doing well, and that was a good thing. After school ended, Marcus went home to rest before the show. He tried to eat dinner but did not have much appetite. Linda made his favorite meal, spaghetti with meatballs, but Marcus could only eat a few bites. His stomach was too jumpy. Linda suggested Marcus lie down for a while. He needed to relax and save his energy. Marcus went to his room and tried to rest, but his mind would not stop racing. He kept thinking about the performance. He visualized sitting at the piano. He mentally played through the piece in his head, hearing every note. Emma knocked on his door around 5:30. She came in and sat on his bed. She told Marcus she had a gift for him. She handed him a small box wrapped in blue paper. Marcus opened it carefully. Inside was a silver bracelet with a small charm that looked like a piano. Emma said it was for good luck. Marcus put the bracelet on his wrist. He hugged his sister tight. Emma told him she believed in him completely. She said that no matter what happened tonight, she would always be proud to be his sister. Those words gave Marcus strength. At 6:15, the family got ready to leave for the school. Marcus wore nice black pants and a button-up white shirt. Linda had ironed it specially for the occasion. Robert drove them to Jefferson Middle School. The parking lot was already filling up with cars. Families were arriving for the talent show. Marcus's heart pounded harder as they walked toward the school entrance. He could see students and parents heading into the building. Some people glanced at Marcus and whispered to each other. Marcus knew they were talking about him. Everyone knew he was performing tonight. Inside the school, there was excitement in the air. The hallways were crowded with people making their way to the auditorium. Marcus needed to go backstage to check in with the other performers. He said goodbye to his family. Linda kissed his forehead. Robert squeezed his shoulder. Emma gave him 2 thumbs up. Backstage was chaotic. There were about 20 students performing in the talent show. Some were warming up their voices. Others were practicing dance moves in the corner. A group of girls adjusted their matching costumes. Everyone seemed to be busy with their own preparations. Marcus found a quiet spot and sat down. He closed his eyes and tried to calm his breathing like Mrs. Chen had taught him. Breathe in slowly through the nose, hold it. Breathe out slowly through the mouth. Repeat. It helped a little bit, but Marcus's heart was still racing. A student coordinator came around with a clipboard. She told everyone the running order for the show. Marcus would be performing in the middle, right after the intermission. That meant he would have to wait through several acts before his turn came. The waiting might be the hardest part. At exactly 7 o'clock, Principal Harrison walked on stage. The audience quieted down. The auditorium was completely full. Every seat was taken. Some people even stood in the back because there was no more room to sit. Principal Harrison welcomed everyone to the annual Jefferson Middle School talent show. He thanked the students for their hard work preparing their acts. Then his voice became serious. He reminded everyone that all performers deserved respect and encouragement. Any disruptive behavior would not be tolerated. He looked pointedly at certain sections of the audience where he knew some of the troublemakers were sitting. The show began. The first act was a group of girls singing a popular song. They harmonized nicely, and the audience clapped enthusiastically. Next was a boy who did a comedy routine. Some of his jokes were funny and made people laugh. Then came a magic act, followed by a hip-hop dance performance. Marcus watched from backstage on a small monitor. He could see and hear everything happening on stage. The performers looked confident and polished. They had clearly practiced a lot. Marcus wondered if his performance would measure up to theirs. Tyler and his friends were indeed sitting in the front row, just as they had promised. Marcus could see them on the monitor. They were loud and obnoxious, cheering extra loud for their friends and making comments during other acts. Principal Harrison had to remind them to be quiet twice during the first half of the show. After about 45 minutes, intermission was announced. People got up to stretch their legs and use the restroom. Backstage, Marcus felt his anxiety spike. He was next after intermission. In just 15 minutes, he would be walking out on that stage. Mrs. Chen appeared backstage during intermission. She had come to check on Marcus. When Marcus saw his piano teacher, he felt both relieved and more nervous. Mrs. Chen asked how he was feeling. Marcus admitted he felt like he might throw up. Mrs. Chen smiled kindly. She reminded Marcus of what they had talked about. He was not playing for Tyler or the audience. He was playing for himself and for the music. She told him to walk out there, sit at that piano, close his eyes, and just play. Let everything else disappear. Let the music take over. Marcus nodded. He tried to absorb his teacher's calm energy. Mrs. Chen placed her hand on his shoulder. She told him she would be sitting in the third row and she would be proud of him no matter what. Then she left to go back to her seat. The intermission ended and people returned to their seats. The show resumed with a gymnastics routine. Then came a violin solo. Both acts were well received. Now it was Marcus's turn. A stage crew member told Marcus to get ready. He would be announced next. Marcus's legs felt weak as he stood up. His hands were cold and shaking. His mouth was dry. Every nerve in his body was firing. This was really happening. In less than a minute, he would be on that stage in front of hundreds of people. Principal Harrison walked back onto the stage to introduce the next act. The audience settled down. Principal Harrison looked at his paper and then spoke into the microphone. He announced that the next performer was Marcus Williams, who would be playing a piano solo. The reaction from the audience was mixed. There was some polite applause, but there were also whispers and a few snickers. Tyler and his friends sat forward in their seats with big grins on their faces. They had their phones out, ready to record what they expected would be entertainment of a different kind. Marcus heard his name and knew it was time. He walked toward the stage entrance. His whole body felt numb. The stage manager gave him an encouraging nod and gestured for him to go. Marcus stepped through the curtain and into the bright lights. The audience became visible as Marcus walked across the stage. So many faces looking at him, so many eyes watching his every move. He could hear murmuring from the crowd. He could feel their skepticism and curiosity. Some people looked genuinely interested. Others looked like they were waiting for a joke. In the third row, Marcus spotted Mrs. Chen. She smiled at him warmly. A few rows behind her, he saw his family. His mother had tears in her eyes already. His father sat with his hands clasped tightly. Emma was holding up her phone to record, and she gave Marcus an encouraging smile. Marcus reached the grand piano that had been set up on stage. It was a beautiful instrument, much nicer than his piano at home. He pulled out the bench and sat down. He adjusted the bench slightly to get the height right. The audience waited in silence, though it was not a comfortable silence. It was an expectant, judgmental silence. Marcus looked at the piano keys. They were white and black, clean and perfect. This was it. The moment he had been preparing for. All the practice, all the teasing, all the doubt and determination. It all came down to this moment. He placed his fingers on the keys, preparing to start. But then something happened. Marcus's mind went blank. He could not remember how the piece started. The first notes completely vanished from his memory. His hands froze. He sat there motionless, his fingers hovering over the keys. The silence stretched on. 5 seconds. 10 seconds. People started to shift uncomfortably in their seats. Whispers began to ripple through the audience. Someone coughed. In the front row, Tyler elbowed his friend and smirked. This was exactly what they had expected. Marcus felt panic rising in his chest. He had frozen. He could not remember the music. His worst nightmare was coming true. Sweat formed on his forehead. His breathing became quick and shallow. The audience was getting restless. Someone in the back giggled nervously. Then from the third row, Marcus heard a familiar sound. Mrs. Chen hummed the first few notes very quietly, just loud enough for Marcus to hear. It was like a lifeline thrown to a drowning person. The notes triggered his memory. The music came flooding back into his mind. Marcus took a deep breath. He remembered Mrs. Chen's words. Do not play for them. Play for yourself. Play for the music. Marcus closed his eyes. He blocked out the audience. He blocked out the fear. He thought only about the music and what it meant to him. Then Marcus began to play. The first notes of Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata filled the auditorium. They were soft and gentle, like a whisper in the darkness. The audience immediately stopped their whispering. Something in those opening notes demanded attention. Marcus kept his eyes closed as he played. His fingers moved across the keys with a grace that surprised everyone watching. The notes were clear and precise. Each one rang out beautifully in the large space. This was not what people had expected at all. The beginning section of the piece was slow and haunting. Marcus played it with deep feeling. His body swayed slightly with the music. You could tell he was not just playing notes on a page. He was expressing something real and emotional. The music came from somewhere deep inside him. In the audience, people leaned forward in their seats. The smirks and skeptical looks began to fade. Even Tyler, sitting in the front row with his phone out, looked confused. This was not the disaster he had anticipated. The boy he had mocked for weeks was actually playing beautifully. Mrs. Chen sat in the third row with tears already forming in her eyes. She knew how hard Marcus had worked. She knew every hour of practice he had put in. But more than that, she could hear something in his playing that went beyond technique. Marcus was playing with his whole heart. As the piece progressed, the tempo began to increase. The music started to build in intensity. Marcus's fingers moved faster across the keys. The slow, gentle opening was transforming into something more powerful and dramatic. This was where the piece became really difficult. Marcus's hands flew across the keyboard now. The notes came rapid-fire, one after another in complex patterns. His left hand and right hand played different rhythms at the same time, creating a full, rich sound. The difficulty of what he was doing was obvious, even to people who knew nothing about piano. The audience was completely silent now. Not the uncomfortable, judgmental silence from before. This was the silence of people holding their breath, not wanting to miss a single note. Everyone was transfixed by what they were seeing and hearing. Robert sat gripping the armrests of his seat. He had never heard his son play this piece all the way through before. Marcus had always practiced at home, but hearing it in this setting, with this acoustics and this piano, was entirely different. Robert felt his chest swell with pride and emotion. Linda openly cried as she watched her son. All the doubts people had expressed, all the times she had been told that Marcus could not do things, all the limitations people tried to place on him because of his Down syndrome. None of that mattered now. Her son was on that stage proving every single doubter wrong. Emma recorded the performance on her phone, but her hands shook with emotion. She watched her little brother commanding the stage, holding an entire auditorium spellbound with his talent. Emma thought about all the times she had defended Marcus from bullies. She wished those bullies could see themselves now, forced to respect the boy they had mocked. The music continued to build. Marcus was completely lost in the performance now. His face showed intense concentration mixed with joy. This was where he belonged. This was where all the words that were hard for him to speak did not matter. The piano was his voice, and it was speaking loudly and clearly. In the front row, Tyler had lowered his phone. He was no longer recording to make fun of Marcus later. He was actually watching the performance with genuine surprise on his face. His friends beside him had stopped laughing too. They sat quietly, unable to deny what they were witnessing. Sophie sat with her parents several rows back. She had a huge smile on her face. She had believed in Marcus, and now everyone else was finally seeing what she had known all along. Her mother leaned over and whispered that Marcus was incredible. Sophie nodded proudly, glad that people were recognizing her friend's talent. The piece moved into its climactic section. This was the most technically demanding part. The notes came faster and louder. Marcus's entire body was engaged with the music now. His arms moved up and down the keyboard. His fingers struck the keys with power and precision. The sound filled every corner of the auditorium. It was bold and dramatic and overwhelming. Some people in the audience felt goosebumps on their arms. Others felt their eyes watering without quite knowing why. The music had a power that transcended the performance itself. It made people feel something deep and genuine. Principal Harrison stood at the side of the auditorium watching. He had been worried about this performance for weeks. He had almost tried to talk Marcus out of it to protect him. Now he realized how wrong that would have been. This moment needed to happen. Not just for Marcus, but for every student watching who had ever underestimated someone different from themselves. The music raced toward its conclusion. The final section was a cascade of notes, building and building to the ultimate climax. Marcus's hands moved so fast they were almost a blur. The piano sang under his touch. It was thrilling and beautiful and powerful all at once. Then, with a series of thundering chords, Marcus played the final notes of the piece. He struck them with force and precision. The last chord rang out and slowly faded into silence. Marcus held his hands on the keys for a long moment, letting the sound disappear completely. When the last vibration of the piano strings finally died away, there was absolute silence in the auditorium. Marcus opened his eyes and lifted his hands from the keys. He sat very still, almost afraid to turn around and face the audience. 1 second passed. 2 seconds. 3 seconds. The silence felt eternal to Marcus. Then, somewhere in the middle of the auditorium, one person stood up. It was a woman Marcus did not know. She started clapping her hands together. Then another person stood. Then another. Within moments, people were rising from their seats all over the auditorium. The applause started as a ripple and quickly became a wave. Soon, every single person in the entire auditorium was standing and clapping, but it was not just polite applause. People were cheering. They were whistling. Some were shouting, "Bravo!" The noise was deafening. The applause went on, showing no signs of stopping. It was a standing ovation, and it was genuine and heartfelt. Marcus slowly stood up from the piano bench and turned to face the audience. What he saw took his breath away. Hundreds of people on their feet applauding him, not out of pity, not out of obligation, but out of real admiration and respect for what he had just accomplished. Tears ran down Marcus's face. He had not expected this. He had hoped people would listen and maybe understand him better. But this response exceeded anything he had imagined. He bowed awkwardly, not quite sure what to do with his hands. Mrs. Chen was standing and clapping so hard her hands hurt. Tears streamed down her face. In all her years of teaching, this was her proudest moment. Marcus had not just played the notes correctly. He had created real art. He had touched people's hearts. Marcus's family was a mess of emotions in their seats. Linda cried openly, not even trying to hide it. Robert stood clapping with tears running down his own face, something his children had rarely seen. Emma jumped up and down while clapping, shouting, "That's my brother!" to anyone who would listen. The standing ovation continued for what felt like forever. People kept clapping and cheering. Some audience members had tears in their eyes. They had witnessed something special. They had seen a young boy overcome enormous obstacles and succeed brilliantly. In the front row, Tyler Bennett stood and clapped too. But unlike the others, Tyler's face showed something different. Shame. He clapped, but he could not meet Marcus's eyes. Tyler had spent weeks mocking this boy, creating memes, making jokes. He had assumed Marcus would fail and had looked forward to it. Now Tyler realized how cruel and wrong he had been. The boy on that stage had more talent in one finger than Tyler had in his whole body. And more than that, Marcus had more courage. Tyler felt ashamed of himself and his friends. They had judged someone without knowing anything about him. Principal Harrison walked onto the stage, his own eyes wet with tears. He shook Marcus's hand enthusiastically, pumping it up and down. He leaned into the microphone and said that what they had just witnessed was truly extraordinary. The audience erupted in another round of applause. Finally, after several minutes, the applause began to die down. People sat back in their seats, still buzzing with excitement. Marcus walked off the stage on shaky legs. As soon as he was backstage, his family rushed to meet him. They all hugged him at once, a tangle of arms and tears and joy. Linda held her son's face in her hands and told him she had never been more proud of anything in her entire life. Robert could barely speak through his emotion, but he managed to say that Marcus was the bravest person he knew. Emma just kept hugging her brother and laughing with joy. Mrs. Chen made her way backstage, too. When Marcus saw her, he ran to give her a hug. She held him tight and told him he had been magnificent. She said his performance was not just technically excellent, but emotionally powerful. He had made people feel the music, and that was the mark of a true artist. The rest of the talent show continued, but no one could focus on the other acts. Everyone was still talking about Marcus's performance. In the lobby during the final intermission, it was all anyone discussed. Parents who did not even know Marcus told their kids how impressed they were. Students who had laughed at Marcus before now looked at him with new eyes. When the talent show ended and people were leaving, many came up to Marcus personally. They shook his hand and congratulated him. Some apologized for not giving him a chance before. Others simply thanked him for sharing his gift with them. Tyler approached Marcus reluctantly as people were filing out of the auditorium. His friends had already left, not wanting to face Marcus after everything they had said and done. Tyler stood in front of Marcus for a moment, looking at the ground. Then Tyler looked up and met Marcus's eyes. He said simply, "That was really cool. I'm sorry." It was not a long apology or a detailed explanation, but the sincerity in Tyler's voice was real. Marcus nodded and said, "Thank you." That was all that needed to be said. Sophie ran up to Marcus with her parents. She was so excited she could barely speak. She told Marcus he was amazing and that she knew he would be. Sophie's mother said she had never heard a middle school student play at that level before. She asked if Marcus took professional lessons and where he learned. As the family drove home that night, Marcus looked out the car window and felt different. Something had changed. Not just in how other people saw him, but in how he saw himself. He had faced his biggest fear. He had stood on that stage in front of everyone who had doubted him, and he had succeeded. The video that Emma had recorded went viral online, just as she had hoped it would. Within days, millions of people around the world watched Marcus's performance. Comments flooded in from everywhere. People were inspired by his courage. They were moved by his talent. Many people with disabilities or family members with disabilities said Marcus gave them hope. But for Marcus, the most important moment did not happen at the talent show or online. It happened the next Monday at school. Marcus walked into Jefferson Middle School expecting things to be the same as always. But they were not. Students in the hallway said hello to Marcus. Some smiled at him. A few stopped to tell him they loved his performance. In the cafeteria, a group of kids invited Marcus to sit with them. For the first time in his life at that school, Marcus was not alone. Marcus had not changed. He still had Down syndrome. He still faced challenges that other kids did not face. But now people saw past that. They saw Marcus the person, Marcus the musician, Marcus the brave, talented, determined individual who had something valuable to share with the world. Sophie was right. Marcus was brave. And his bravery had not just changed how others saw him. It had changed how an entire school thought about differences, disabilities, and the assumptions we make about people we do not truly know. Sometimes the most powerful way to change the world is simply to show people who you really are.